Well, hello, welcome back to our second session of day two. This is one that I'm certainly looking forward to, as we discussed briefly at the end of the last session. Big fan of Adapt, and with us is Simon Date, the Adapt freelancer, and founder of Adapt Unlimited as well. And he's come to talk to us about an area of Adapt that I've had a lot of conversations with people about. It's intimidating, it's a bit worrying, it's downright difficult at times, and that is theming. So I'm going to take up as little time as possible so we can all get the most out of this session. I'll get out of the way, and Simon, the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my name's Simon. As Tom gave me an introduction already, I'm going to be presenting today. I should probably tell you that I'm not in my usual environment. I'm actually like on holiday currently, so I'm in a hotel room in Italy, in the Alps. It's very beautiful outside, but unfortunately that means that my internet's a bit patchy. So please let me know if there's any issues, and I'll try and obviously fix the internet as soon as possible. But yeah, if there's a good chance this might like cut out a few times during the presentation, and I'm really sorry if that happens. So I am here to kind of talk about. I'll go. Hang on, I'll share my screen. Tom, have you showing my screen now?
Yep.
Can everyone see that? Tom?
Yeah, everyone can see it. That's all good.
Okay, cool. Okay, good to know. Okay, so let's go through what I'm going to be talking about. This is the introduction. I'm going to be obviously talking about Adapt and modern authoring tools, the responsive authoring tools that many people are using now. Why prototyping them is really good, and kind of helps you have alignment, and also with both your internal team and also with your clients. But why it's sometimes a bit more challenging to do, and a solution that we've actually created to help you with this problem. Then I'm going to be showing off this solution that we've created called the Adapt Tips UI Kit. Really exciting product. Then I'm going to be using the UI Kit itself, which is an Adobe XD product, and kind of recreate one of my own clients' brand guidelines. It's prototype. I'm going to publish that project and recreate it in the Adapt framework. So I think that, I mean, this will be done in the framework, just because it will be slightly faster for me to work that way. But if you're using the authoring tool, everything I do will be pretty easy to do, either the same way or a slight modification. So yeah, let's begin. Oh, and finally, there's going to be a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, I will answer them at the end. And I know there's also another room at the end. So if you need extra time, then I'll kind of jump to that room, and you can talk to me there. Cool. So this is what many people associate as bad e-learning. You know, obviously lots of stuff that comes from like the storyline and Captivate era of e-learning, which is very inspired by Flash and PowerPoint design. And yeah, this is what a lot of my friends say when I tell them I work in e-learning. They assume that it's pretty bad, and it's something to be ashamed of. And I think there's probably a good reason why they have that reaction. But yeah, if as I said, there's like been a revolution towards responsive authoring tools that have more modern design inspiration, and Adapt was probably the first authoring tool that led that charge back in 2014. And there's many other really good tools that have the same kind of design influence. So yeah, like when we're comparing Adapt to these other tools, Adapt is cloud based, so you log in and your whole team can collaborate and work together. Whereas tools like Storyline, you're installing a desktop product to your computer, and you have to worry about updates. You can't really collaborate with other people. It's kind of like an old school way of doing things. You have, you know, but like I said, like this workflow is really better for teams, and if you're like scaling up your e-learning production, it makes a lot more sense to work in a cloud-based authoring tool because you know, if someone's sick and they can't work that certain day, then someone can take over the project, and it's a lot easier to do that kind of thing and have these more flexible workflows. Whereas with Storyline, you're kind of relying on a single developer who does most of the work in that authoring tool with a local file that they have installed on their computer. You know, if they're working from home, if they're working from the office, they have to worry about transferring those files across. So yeah, obviously that is somewhat a limitation. Obviously, a big thing that many people love about these new tools is that they're responsive, and that allows you to not worry about desktop and mobile and all those things. This was something I took from the Storyline's website, and it's obviously advocating their own responsive solution, and there is obviously some responsiveness built into these tools, but it's very limited in what it can do, and you have to worry about breakpoints and all those different things, which with Adapt you just does it automatically for you, so it's a lot easier. Yeah, with these older tools, you have to worry about every single slide needs to be designed, and you have to worry about what it looks like and kind of doing their things. I know there's obviously templating built into these tools and theming and reusability, but it's obviously not as efficient as these kind of more templated design tools, which are more, I've worked with multiple teams using Adapt, and they've all been able to kind of increase their workflow by like at least 2 to 3 times because it's just so much more efficient to know that every component's going to look the same, and that consistency, that you don't have to worry about a content author doing the design work. Is just like one of the benefits of this workflow. I can talk more about this later if we want to discuss it more. So yeah, as a whole, a lot more teams are moving towards this workflow, and it's obviously it's good that this has upset the market and kind of mixed things up. And obviously, these other authoring tools have had to respond to this. But yeah, there are some potential issues with this new way of working, and I'll get onto that now. Tom, can you confirm that I'm still good and there's been no dropout so far?
Yep, all good.
Oh, excellent. Good to know. So yeah, what is a e-learning prototype? So it's basically a vertical slice of a course. Just imagine that, you have like, sometimes you have lorem ipsum text, sometimes you have real text from the client, but its purpose is to kind of like create look and feel of the course and make sure that you have something to sign off both internally and also with the client before you start the production of the actual e-learning content itself. And it could be done directly in the authoring tool, but there are software which is designed specifically for prototyping, such as Adobe XD and also Figma, which is now owned by Adobe as well, because they purchased them, I think about 3 or 4 months ago. So yeah, the benefit of theme prototyping is that the client can see exactly what their content's going to look like before you invest in a lot of development. Maybe you'd like get signed off of that theme first before you do any more work, and that brings a lot more flexibility into how you work. And yeah, having designers work in these tools rather than the authoring tools themselves means that they can obviously use the tool they're used to and have more creative freedom to kind of implement their own thoughts and of what something should look like. But yeah, there are difficulties with this because in larger teams, like I said, these teams are getting larger and larger, and the person who creates the prototype is probably not going to be the same person who's like a CSS developer who's creating in the authoring tool itself. So they might not necessarily be familiar with all of, if they're new to this authoring tool, they might not be familiar with what the components are and what it does. And if they were using like a legacy tool like Storyline, imagine this designer was used to working with Storyline. It'd be a lot easier for them to create a freeform interaction because every interaction is a lot more kind of bespoke in those tools. But yeah, with Adapt and other responsive authoring tools, which are more templated based, you don't really have that flexibility. So you're kind of obviously with Adapt, because it's open source, you can always create any component you want, but it's not necessarily always the best use of time, and it's sometimes more sensible to have designers aware of the kind of limitations that of the interactions that they're working with. So yeah, like this was a problem that both Chuck and myself, who is my kind of business partner on Adapt Tips, which is it's our tips and tricks website that we've created to help teams using Adapt. And yeah, we were discussing this problem, and we were like, what if we could help create a tool, a solution which could help these teams who are using Adapt? So we kind of went away and we were like discussing it in different ways. And we were thinking like, oh, this should really enable every designer to see the components and extensions that come with Adapt out of the box. And this will help them understand how they interact with each other and what they do and what the kind of default spacing is and things like that. So when they hand over to a developer, that developer has a basis from the default theme, which comes with Adapt, called the vanilla theme. And they don't have to worry about something which is clearly radical. And this brings a lot more alignment between the two different forces which are kind of pulling together. So yeah, we thought that if the designers were aware of these kind of limitations, then they would be building themes that could be built in hours or days rather than days or longer. And in the demo I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be trying to build a theme in half an hour. So I guess we can see how accurate that is. So yeah, now it's time for the demo. So I'm going to be showing off the preview of the UI kit that we've created. So this is basically what you get if you purchased this UI kit. So yeah, let's see. So essentially you would have like a color picker, which would show you all of the default colors that come with Adapt. And as you change them, it will be inherited into this list. So you could very easily export this as like a kind of style guide, I guess, or something like that. And you also have access to all of the icons that are used in Adapt. And obviously that makes it a lot easier if you want to swap out different icon packs to something else, as well as typography and yeah, all of the variables that are available to you in this UI kit. You then have your demo section. So this is what you'd be sharing when you're going live. And if I click on this, I believe I can see, maybe not. But anyway, yeah, this would be the demo that gets published whenever you export this course. And I'm not going to be getting too much into the functionality of this UI kit on this thing. I'm mostly just talking about prototyping. But if this is something that you're interested in learning out more about, then obviously talk to us after the session, and we'll kind of give you maybe do a separate demo of that another time. But yeah, I've kind of created use this UI kit to create a version. This is the live version of the UI kit that is how you would use it with all of the variables linked up to each other. And I'm going to be making changes to this now live so that you can see what it looks like. So this is like a 15-minute demo of what changing things would be like for a designer. And let's go for it. Tom, can I just check it's going okay? Was there any questions that anyone has so far, or should I just keep going?
Yeah, no questions so far and no cutouts either. The internet is on our side.
That's very, it's very good to hear. Yeah, I was having lots of issues earlier today. I was quite worried about this presentation, but touch wood, it's still going well. Cool. So yeah, this is a demo of prototyping that I want to show, and I'm actually going to be showing applying the brand guidelines of a client that I've worked with myself called the ECITB, which is the Engineering and Construction Industry Trade Body, I believe. So they're like a UK. I can show you their website. They're like a UK organization who specializes in helping the like kind of lots of different engineering sectors, so lots of energy production and things like that. So they have this brand guidelines that they published and shared with me when I was working with them, and they've also given me permission to use their brand guidelines in this presentation. So yeah, like obviously thank you to them, and I'll kind of go through this brand guideline piece by piece and kind of talk about how I would be converting the vanilla theme of Adapt, because yeah, this is essentially the vanilla theme of Adapt. How I'll be converting this into their brand guidelines. So let's say that I wanted to start by adding their say that I wanted to add their logo to the navigation bar, which is the thing that appears at the top of an Adapt course. Let's say so I would do that by going to where are we? I don't even know what this is. Am I in the wrong section? Sorry, I'm trying to work out what's happened here. I think I've done something wrong. Okay, there we are. Okay, cool. Awesome. Sorry, I was in the wrong section there. So this is what the UI kit looks like. You have every single element of Adapt laid out and visible, so you can kind of see what every single different component and extension looks like, and you can make changes to their like main version, and that will cascade down into the actual prototype itself. So that makes it very easy to create a scalable prototype with the kind of, and this has all been linked up and calculated for you. So we're going to start by changing the navigation bar. So we'll go to navigation and we'll do edit main component, and this will create a new like class of a component, and you can tell it's that because it's got this filled in diamond there. And yeah, I'm going to get the logo of this client, which I've got here. I'm going to select it and copy it, and then I'm going to click on this element here and paste it in, and yeah, voila, it's it's right here. It's shown on the navigation bar, and if I go to okay, I think I did that wrong, sorry. So I double click on this and then I paste it in, and okay, it's going to the wrong place. So I don't want it on the background. I want it on this thing here. Paste it here. Oh, why is this not working? I'm sorry. This is always live demos. You're bound to get something that happens like this. It's working fine earlier today when I was practicing, but yeah. Okay. I'm gonna. So I've got the instructions of how to do this here. I had it nailed down. I'm just trying to understand why I've got this wrong.
Just
Sorry about
while
this.
no,
Yeah.
just while Simon's having a look at that and sorting that out, I thought it'd be a good
Mm.
opportunity to kind of ask, kind of, for everyone in the audience with prototyping at the moment. I mean, I'm a big Figma and Adobe XD fan. What do people use at the moment, and how familiar are you with things like Adobe XD and this approach to prototyping your course designs? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah. Because oh man.
So I ask because I think it's a fair, or relatively speaking, it's kind of, I almost feel like the return of an older concept, because I think
Mm.
in kind of web design generally and creating digital products, you will always prototype. You won't prototype in a live environment in an authoring tool, for want of a better term. But kind of I'd say kind of the rise of Storyline, Captivate, Rise, products like that really kind of pushed people into just build it in the tool in the first instance. And now I think certainly among people that I work with, I'm seeing an increase in kind of going back to that separate prototyping phase. Oh, here we go. So Catherine, work more on the storyboard side, but was interesting in seeing what Adapt can do. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Adapt itself is a fantastic open source kind of authoring tool and framework, and I think this kind of looks quite specifically at the theming side of things. But I mean, if you ever want to learn more about Adapt generally, Simon's definitely the person to go to. It's essentially
Well,
like
Tom, you've created. I was going to say, Tom, you've created some really good videos on how to install Adapt and make changes to it. So obviously, those are really good resources as well.
this is it.
Um,
But it looks like you've got it sorted. So
I have solved it.
I will
Yes, I
hand
have
back
solved
over
it.
to
Sorry,
you.
sorry about that. That was a bit of a head scratcher there of what was happening. You can do these. You know, I've been testing this countless times and trying to make sure that I didn't have this issue live on stream, but unfortunately these things happen, and there we are. So yeah, as you can see, I've added the logo to the navigation class that I've created, and it's now like applied that to every single element on the page. So that's obviously really useful when you're creating these prototypes to have the parent element that was like cascading down. So that's all good, and we can move on to the next phase, which is yeah, like colors and the brand colors. So this is their color palette, and they have a primary color of Pantone 7462C, which I can see here, and there's a hex code here. So I'm going to copy that directly from here, and Adapt has this primary blue color, but I'm going to edit that now and swap it for this this brand blue color. So I put that in, and as you can see on the screen, it's like cascaded down and applied that to every single element which is used in Adapt. So that's really good, and that works really well. Cool. That that stage was a lot easier. So now let's talk about fonts. So again, fonts are another thing that is really important, and by default, Adapt uses Open Sans font. But looking at the client brand guidelines, we can see that they use Ephra. So what I'm going to be doing is going into character styles, and we're going to be changing. I think I've already changed the body fonts, but I'm going to be changing the title fonts. So I'll go to this one here. I'll right click this, and there's Open Sans here. Let's change that to Ephra, and let's change it to regular as well. And you might need a second or two to update. Page title as well. There's another one I need to do. So yeah, we can see this font's pulling through already. I think this is Ephra font here. change it there as well on the page title. So we'll edit this, do the same change, Ephra, and we'll make it a bold font. So yeah, sometimes it takes like a bit of time to kind of cascade through. So I think it's applied it here, but it's not loaded here. So it takes like maybe 5-10 seconds to apply everywhere. But yeah, I'll move on to the next section, which is yeah, we want to add some kind of background images to this prototype. So that would kind of, I know that's a really important part of the client's brand guidelines. So they use a lot of photography and showing different workers on site. So let's try to do that. So yeah, let's say we wanted to add a background image to this page header here. We would in the same way that we've changed the navigation bar, we would look for the page header element, which is under components. And if we scroll down to everything's been opened. Sorry, all these elements are everywhere. Hang on. Page. Oh, okay, here we are. So we have the page header. We're going to do the same thing, edit this, and actually let's do page header inner desktop. This one. Oh no. So we'll click on this, double click this, and we'll get to we'll go back to our layers tab so we can see what we're doing, and we can click on, we can see there's a page header background layer there. So we just want to get our image and say we wanted to add this guy here. We just drag and drop him in, and yeah, he's there, and we can see that every single page has been updated to have this page header, which is really good. But the main problem is that we can't really see what is happening because obviously now we need to change the inner text to kind of show that. So we're going to go back and we have our inner text here. We're going to double click on this, and this is the background layer. So we're going to add some opacity. Let's say like a 95% opacity, so we can still see most of the image, but the text is still 90%. So yeah, it's not perfect. I think I'd rather have this fully stretched out, but obviously this shows you the demo that you can have different layers on top of each other. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with this prototype. It's all functioning. Like I can quickly show you what it looks like. You'd go here, you go into your course, and it's like a real course that you can basically interact with and use. So this hot graphic opens up. You can play around with different things. So that's really useful. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to export this so that everyone in the chat can see what I've been working on, and you'll all be the same level when we're getting there. So I'm going to export this for development, so it's ready for me as a developer when I put that hat on. Yeah,
just before you do that, Simon, because obviously the next stage is obviously going to be jumping towards Adapt. But I thought it would be a good opportunity, really, just to kind of flag that maybe this is one of the big benefits of that whole prototyping approach in Adobe XD is the ability to share the Adobe XD prototype with a client or your stakeholders or your manager for sign off before you've had to go through the process of actually developing and dealing with authoring tool and SCORM and final images and all that kind of thing, to make sure that you're not then having to make big edits of, oh, could we just do a different type of interaction or whatever it might be further down the line.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the huge benefit of the prototyping stages, to have that understanding of what is capable and what is available to the client, and well, and also to an external stakeholders in other extent as well. And no, I appreciate that. I've been going very fast. Like this is a very big presentation that I wanted to do for both the prototyping stage and the development stage. So I've been very streamlined and not really talked about. I can appreciate lots of people in the audience probably don't have an understanding of what I just realized I'm hiding away as well. What I'm doing and why it's needed, as you said, Tom, because of this. Once you work in like a larger team in e-learning production, having this prototyping stage is really important. So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'll create this link now. And what were you gonna
Brilliant.
say, Tom?
Yeah. I was just going to say, and could you explain with when you're exporting from this? Obviously, you said you're going to export it for being a developer. What could you just quickly run us through the differences as that's exporting between doing it for a developer versus for someone else from Adobe XD?
Sure. So the standard Adobe XD has like comment features and all those like people can have comments on either the whole project or on certain sections. And I guess if you're sharing this with a client, they probably don't want to know about the hex code colors or those kind of things. Maybe it would be useful for them to know about the brand guidelines, but that's more of a streamlined view. But then yeah, you have the development view. I'm not entirely sure what the other ones are. Like the testing view, I believe. Do you know, Tom? Do you use XD much?
I'm mostly a Figma user these days, but I know,
Okay.
for instance, in fairness, the two that you tend to use are the user and the development. I've always found.
Hmm.
So I think the big thing with the development one is it's going to give you that everything you need to build the course, which
Yeah.
is always quite a nice thing to hand over, especially as you say if you have a different e-learning developer to the person that's designing it. Because sometimes we've all probably been there. We've been handed a storyboard in PowerPoint or across several Word documents with a folder of images that are numbered to match the match the storyboard, and it's not much fun trying to piece that together as a developer later on. So this, I guess, it really
Yeah.
gets you
Okay. I've
around
got
that challenge.
absolutely yeah. So
Fantastic.
I've just shared. I think I've shared it with you, Tom. Can you share
Yeah,
that
I
with the rest
will
of the chat?
pop that out to the chat now.
Excellent. Excellent. So since
Oh, here we go. It's
the
another great thing here. For
loads,
Chuck's just added, if you export for a developer, they can see CSS from the design tokens.
obviously,
So especially when using Adapt, that's going to be a game changer, as we'll see now. Right, I'll get off the stage again and give it back to you, Simon.
oh, just so yeah. Once this loads, I can see it's taking a bit of time because the internet is quite slow here, but you can actually see the prototype that I've created in this product. I'm going to close this now because I don't need it anymore. So yeah, you can see the logo I've added. You can see the page header I've added, the background color. You can see the text has been changed to Ephra. So all these changes I've made, and yeah, you can really see the different like elements of Adapt and the different spacings which Adapt has, and that's the kind of benefit of having this prototype is that it is exactly what it will look like in the course itself. So this will really help. For some reason, it didn't apply there, but okay, we know what we want. We know we want to use Ephraphon. We know what we want to have this page header. So yeah, now I'm going to be transitioning to like the final part of this session, which is going to be building this in Adapt. So Adapt is both an authoring tool, so like the cloud-based authoring tool that I showed you, but a lot of developers like to work in the framework because it gives them a lot more access to the actual code itself, and if you're making bigger changes, then it's available there. So I'm going to be opening this project up, which I've made a few changes to already in my text editor, and I'll be writing this now. But as I said, everything, if you have Adapt installed on the Adapt authoring tool, you can follow along at home and try this yourself if you want, and I should be able to do everything Obviously, you won't have access to the images and the fonts, but feel free to use whatever you have around. So we're going to run this project, and that will have it set up. Oh, click the wrong thing. So yeah, this is exactly out of the box adapt. Like when you run adapt, it will have the vanilla theme, which I have here. I've renamed this to iDTX theme for this demo, but I haven't made any changes apart from adding a few assets, which will link up now. So yeah, let's start by changing the color to the client's color, because yeah, this is the wrong kind of blue. So I can go to my prototype and I can click on this blue here, and I can see it's there. And yeah, I can just click on this. It's copied across, and I go to the colors file, and I'll paste this in here. And if I go back to my live course, this will update in a second. And cool, we've got the client's blue across the whole course. So that's really good. It has applied on both the text, the component titles, and also the other elements in the page, like this. So yeah, now let's try. What have we got? What else we got? So we've got this like page, the logo, for example. Even though the logo seems to have not. Oh no, there it is. Okay, so yeah, we have the logo there. So let's try adding the logo. So you could either add it with CSS, but I'm using the logo extension, which I believe you can find on GitHub very easily. And we're going to need to link up to the logo here. So if I do copy relative path, I can paste this in here, but that is wrong. So instead, I'm just going to do assets / ECITB logo.jpg. And this extension allows you to change the logo if you're on a mobile or tablet, for example, medium-sized device. So we're going to have the same logo across everything. So we do that and save. And again, we go back to our course. And cool, nice. We have our client's logo there. Looks good. It has a bit of spacing around it, which I think is consistent with their brand guidelines. Hang on, let me check. So I would probably want to add a bit more padding around that, because as is now, so I'm going to go into the web developer inspector, and yeah, I think there's a little bit too much. So we're going to try increasing this to 1. Cool. Yeah, so we'll do this instead. We'll set the height to be. We'll go into our theme, and we'll create a new plugin file called adapt logo, and then add a logo file here, and then we'll copy this CSS quickly and make this 1.5. And then we'll change our padding on this level as well to be 1. Right. So I'm just doing some quick CSS here. So this is essentially just resizing the component. It's overriding what it looks like in the default setting. And because we know our client likes to have this exclusion zone around their logo, so that's a quick change I'm making, and it should just reload any second now. Cool. So it's a bit small, but I think I proved my point that it's easy to make this change. We'll do like 1.75. And we'll just leave it because it's close enough. This is just a demo, obviously. So we've added the exclusion design around the logo. Yeah, so we want to add these page header backgrounds. So let's go into courses.json. Oh, sorry, content objects. So what we would do here is we would get our vanilla theme to have the right CSS. Actually, no, I'll tell you what. So we're applying this to every single page. So rather than doing it through the JSON, we're going to do this through the theme. So we're going to go to project, core and page. And so we have the CSS already for background images. So what we're going to do is just add background image and then URL. And our image is currently in our assets folder. So assets / page header 1.jpg. Cool. So I'll save that and see if it's loaded in the right place. Okay, for some reason it's not. Oh, okay, because it doesn't have the background image. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is just apply this. Has background image. So if this class existed, okay, sorry, we're having another. Okay, so this should be in the page header. So this is like another live demo thing where I'm trying to work out what I'm doing, because I would normally do this through the theme itself. So we would normally have, through the JSON. So we would normally do something like this, iDTX demo. All right. Yep.
Just while you're doing that, it might be a great opportunity actually to kind of touch on what that key difference is between working in the theme versus working directly in the JSON, just so that everyone can kind of follow that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So Adapt is it's a product of it's an authoring tool for two products, I guess. There's a framework which is the kind of output files of the course that you get. So when you when you're done with any authoring tool, you end up with like a zip file that looks something like this, and you would zip it up and then upload it to your learning management system. And Adapt has that. You can work directly with that and make changes in the source, and it will rebuild. But there's also like a cloud-based version of Adapt called the Adapt Authoring Tool, which is the more user-friendly kind of designed for non-technical people who don't want to be using the framework because of its being a more codey product. And as I said earlier, like I prefer generally when I'm working on themes and doing stuff like that to do this in the framework, because you have slightly more control and you can do things slightly faster. But it's totally lots of teams don't bother you with the framework at all, and they rely solely on the authoring tool. And if you're making this change in the authoring tool, you would be able to literally have a drop down and click on it and import that way. But I've tried to do it the different way, and that's resulted in this slightly longer process. But I believe this should be correct once I do this.
But
Let's see.
certainly, like, what I found as well is, in fact, Chuck's just said it there, that doing this sort of stuff, JSON can look really intimidating if you don't have a background in code and things like that. But as he points out in his second comment, it's human readable. And I
Yeah,
think one of the great strengths of Adapt, and one of the reasons why I really like it, is the fact that you have access to this. You can just go in and do that. And once you kind of get over that initial what am I looking at moment, and you start to get to grips with it, I find it's so much quicker, so much more efficient, and so much more standardized across a team, which I think can be a real challenge. Funny enough, actually, in one of Chuck's previous comments, he said about he gets a lot of, as a developer, gets a lot of kind of art direction in Photoshop. I get a lot in Illustrator and InDesign, things like that. Stunning visual designs, but from a development perspective, every little self alignment that is slightly different from screen to screen, or things that don't quite line up, or text that isn't going to fit like that on a real screen, becomes a real challenge, and it becomes an opportunity to create rework when you send something for review with a client and they're like, that's not quite what I drew in Photoshop. When the honest answer is no, because what you drew in Photoshop can't actually be created in this format. Um,
mm.
so I think it gives you much quicker turnaround on those kinds of things. And certainly for me, for prior to using Adapt, I had very little understanding of kind of code and what really went into building like a piece of SCORM content.
Yeah,
And this was a really nice entry without having to learn everything all at once. I was able to
yeah,
go from purely an authoring tool user to go, oh, I can do a little bit of framework. I can understand what this is, knowing that if I got stuck, I could hop over to the authoring tool again and figure it out there and kind of like translate between the two to build up that knowledge over time. So it's a great opportunity to become more technical if you want to as well.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. And this is normally, yeah. I've made this change many times myself, and it's like I said, it's just one of those things where you're doing a live demo, and
Oh yeah, you're on camera.
it
It
kind
can't
of
go
it
smoothly.
kind of
That's
yeah, exactly, yeah. So luckily the internet hasn't cut out, but
brilliant. Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's
um, but
super.
I
Well, I'll
believe
hand back to you because it looks like we're making some headway.
hopefully the final, yeah, this should be the final change, and if not, we'll just okay. There we are. Excellent, cool. So we have our man, and if we go to every other, oh no, this will be on this page, but that's absolutely fine for this demo. So what we want to do is every time we have a background image, we want to also apply some this inside pad from our prototype designer. So we're gonna just have a page header class here, page header inner, and we're gonna go to our CSS quickly. And where are we? So page header has background image, and we're going to add this class here, and then we're going to do background color. We're going to do a fade, which is basically it takes a color and then it adds like a opacity to it. So this is something available with less, which is a special type of CSS, and we should see this apply now. I say. But yeah, obviously the point of this session was to kind of show how designers and developers can work together and the benefit that brings to teams who are working with these tools. And I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to move this out here. Cool. We'll put that there. And how you can easily create prototypes for colleagues and members of your team, and then they can inherit it in a lot more easier to understand way, and obviously that leads to better sign off from clients. It leads to better. Cool. So we have this. Looks okay. I'll change the trans. I mean, this transparency doesn't look good here, so I'm going to change this. to 90%, which actually I'll check what it was in the prototype. So yeah, okay, the opacity was 90% here, so I'll change it to 90%. I have all these variables available to me in the prototype. That's one of the benefits of this development tab here. We can click on anything and it will tell me as the developer what that looks like in CSS. So it will say there's seven pixels above and 6 pixels below, which is not amazing design by the designer, but the developer, I would inherit that and say, okay, cool, this is probably what they wanted center aligned. And yeah, this looks a lot better. We have our colors. The final thing we wanted to do was to change the font. So we're going to go to font config. And so yeah, I've already imported this Ephra font. I just need to go to fonts.google. So I've done this through, Adobe allows you to export fonts very easily, and you can see what they look like. If I go to add to web project, iDTX demo, you can save, and then it tells me the names of the font, so I can just copy Ephra. If I paste this in here, I would add, so I've already added this import link here, so I would just copy this and paste it into the project, and then all you have to do is an import. So you would just paste that in there. But yeah, I've done that already. And obviously if you're using different fonts, like for example, if you're using a downloaded font, you'd have to add that to the project files here. But that's another thing you could do. Luckily, the font I can just easily import. And I'm going to rebuild this project quickly, and it should show me this font I'm looking for. Cool. So that looks good. Looks really good. And yeah, I think it's really good. It looks exactly like the demo. So in just a few minutes, I've created, go here. Yeah, it looks, I'll zoom out a bit on my webpage. And yeah, I think I'm really happy with this. So maybe the bold would need to be changed, but I think for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to wrap it up there. So
Fantastic.
yeah, obviously, actually, hang on, I need to go back. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, well, Google slide, I should say. So thank you for that. And do you have any questions? But I'll show you this before I turn off my screen share. So this UI kit that I've been showing, it's going to be something that AdaptTips will be selling in the next couple of weeks. If you're interested in learning out more about it, you can sign up by going to adapt.tips /hash/portal/sign up, or just go to our website and then navigate to the sign up page. And if you sign up for our newsletter, there will be a discount code that will go live when we go live. So that's another cool thing to share with you. So awesome. Let's go back to the Q&A.
Yeah, so if you've got any questions, please do drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. But the other thing I'd say as well is actually on the I know a lot of people kind of certainly in the IDT community are kind of early days users of Adapt. And there is a lot of really great guidance and support available in your articles on the AdaptTips website, whether for the authoring tool or the framework, or even just those early getting started phases of getting to grips with it. Because I think it is fair to say that for those of us that, certainly for me, prior to using Adapt, I used Storyline and Captivate, and I actually used Evolve before I used Adapt, and it was that kind of I kind of get it, but that whole customer support element that you get with a paid product rather than an open source product was missing. There's not kind of like the 0800 hotline number you can go, right, I'm having this problem. And so resources like AdaptTips are invaluable for when those things do come up. So I would encourage anyone wanting to look at the tool to take a look at the site. But I mean, just touching on some of the comments we've got. Catherine did say she works as a designer and recognizes how important it is to listen to the developers, establish effective and efficient ways of working. And I think sort of the UI kits, with be it in XD, be it in Figma, be it in wherever it might be. So it'd be interesting to hear how you found it, but I've always found them to be a far more efficient way of working than with kind of written storyboards and sort of by hand wireframes, as it were, when handing over to a developer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think using these tools, it makes a lot more sense to have kind of like standardized templates for like stuff like storyboards. I have a storyboard template with all the adapt components that I would use for a project. So being able to have the same thing for design as well as for storyboarding, visual design as well as storyboarding, then I think that makes so much more sense. And that's definitely a problem that we're trying to solve, is like the communication and the understanding between these different disciplines.
Yeah. And I would assume that obviously once you've kind of gone through one cycle of getting your design done, your components all designed in, your actual storyboarding process, your design process becomes much quicker because you can just pull a text component, a drag and drop component, a quiz component, and just kind of, for want of a better term, fill in the blanks in your design process before sending it to the developer.
Yeah, there's different ways you could work with the UI kit. You either have this like out of the box thing that looks exactly like the vanilla course as you install Adapt, so you don't have to worry about building the content. You could have every single component laid out. But if you did want to build a prototype and have like different, maybe it was like closer to the final product, and you wanted to have something which had real content, and you would have like different components in different orders as the client wanted, then you can use Adapt UI kit very easily to kind of build that prototype and have it ordered out in that way.
Brilliant.
So yeah, we have this like way to build prototypes using drag and drop, so you can drag elements into place and build like an interface yourself really fast.
Fantastic.
Yeah. This has not been the best way. Obviously, I feel like this has been a very ambitious session, and looking back, I probably would have restructured this a bit, maybe to focus more on a specific element of, like you said, a lot of people probably have never used Adapt before, so we are very hyper focused on a specific need, which is probably going over the heads of a lot of people in the audience. I'm sorry for that in hindsight, but obviously I wanted to show what is possible in this product, and also
Absolutely.
show Adapt as well, and how developers and designers can work together.
This is it, and I feel like it's a great example of actually whether or not you use this exact thing. The whole point of prototyping for development is so important for us to consider, especially as you say, as we move into more responsive tools, because I think that is at this point kind of without question what the future looks like. I don't think we're going to suddenly slide back and everything's going to be 16:9 or, God forbid, 4:3. Never going back to those days. So yeah, I think we're only going to see more of this, not less. And so I think it is kind of on us, whether we are developers ourselves or not, to start developing that fundamental understanding of, well, exactly as Catherine said in her comment, what do developers need from us as designers, as IDs, as whatever our role may be, in order to create the things that we want them to create. And similarly, then, if we choose to branch out into development in our futures, then we have some existing understanding. We're not starting from scratch, which is hugely valuable. So no, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk us through this today, especially as you're on holiday. Like that's a big ask.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done it if I had a holiday booked. This would have been cancelled. I would have been gone.
No, I mean, it was tempting, but obviously I wanted to show off this product, and this is a really
Absolutely.
this is an important session. I think to kind of get this conversation started, and it's one of those things,
Absolutely.
like I'm in the Alps. I've been skiing, and I wanted to take a day off from the from the. I'm new to skiing. I've been not doing great, so it's been good to have some time off. And obviously, this is a great way to spend some time showing off a great product. And I hope people
Fantastic.
can find it useful.
We certainly will.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Our next session is scheduled for, he says, rushing to find the schedule, 1:45. So we have just under an hour until that next session, where we'll be looking at video creation for ultimate engagement. Capes and masks not included, I'm afraid, but it's going to be a really great session actually with Daniel. So do make sure you join us for that. I'm going to grab some lunch, but then I will be around in the sessions area if anyone does fancy a chat. Thank you once again, Simon. Thank you, everyone in the audience, and we shall see you later.